That's our intro music.
I think it's longer than that.
Beep boop boop boop. Boop boop.
I think we have at least 5 seconds more.
Oh. Doop doop.
Yeah, that's our freeform jazz intro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Hi, Simon.
Hey, Chris.
What are we talking about today?
Well, where are we first?
Our house?
Who are we? What is this?
Oh, hi. Hi, Simon.
Hey,
You're
Chris.
Simon. I'm Chris.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great start.
We are.
We've gotten worse at this in our second. Now it's still our first year, but in 2025.
Yeah. We're doing Cold Crit.
This is Cold Crit.
This is a podcast about art and its intersections with pop culture and mainstream media, and I guess the Trump administration for this episode, which is a bummer.
I mean, really wish it didn't, but here we are.
Yeah, 2025 is going to make us do a lot of things we wish we didn't.
We're not the only things getting worse in 2025.
No, it's like pretty much everything. You just got to stay ahead of the decline a little, you know?
Yeah, just don't get as worse.
Like an avalanche.
I've never been in one.
Me
but
neither.
That seems like good advice.
I think that's actually really bad advice.
Should we serpentine from the decline? That rhymes nicely.
It's sort of like if you're fleeing a crocodile.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Or snipers.
Oh yeah, true.
Important skills.
Yeah, I mean, yes, very true. all vital.
Yeah, art has so many intersections, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
it's like you could form a whole small city grid with all the intersections.
Art has, but okay, yeah, this
technology,
is getting to be a stupid visual metaphor, so I'm not going to send it too far.
Politics.
But I'm sure, who's that city planner, like the Paris guy? Who's the one who wants all the round things?
Oh,
like the roads.
Hasman.
I don't know. This is your kind of.
This is my domain.
Yeah.
Well, the style is referred to Hasmonization.
Cosmonology?
Well, whenever I try to pronounce it, it sounds like Hosmonetization, but like Hosmonization, which
you never
is
successfully monetized.
Yeah, which Chicago's a good example of like widening the boulevards and doing more like city beautiful stuff.
But there's no like circular like rounds.
Yeah, that was big in France. Yeah, where Mr. Hasman did that.
So yeah, this is a Cold Crit, a city planning podcast.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I wish.
You might have to find a different co-host unless you just want some idiot saying, okay, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, we can be like Sawbones.
Oh, yeah.
The medical podcast where it's like a very, very smart woman and then like a dumb McElroy brother.
So let me get this straight. We don't talk shit on like other artists very much here, but we do talk shit on other podcasters. Or sorry, not we, you.
I shouldn't have said that, but I just really don't like that podcast.
I think the McElroy brothers are fine.
I don't know about them.
Oh, I just mean like they don't care what you say.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine.
It's not like they're Elon Musk or something.
Being successful while I am not. So good for them.
Yeah,
I think they can take it.
Single-handedly started the podcast industry.
Yeah. No,
I know.
Yeah, his name's Hasman.
Hasman?
Hussman. Well, he it's confusing because it's like Hussmann. That's very like German, right?
Sure.
But then he's like, he did his biggest stuff in Paris. So I'm like, where are you from?
I mean, you could pretty much walk to France from Germany.
I wouldn't be able to pronounce it anyway. It's not like it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we doing here today?
We are talking about the Trump admin and the arts and how horrible the last 90 days have been for the arts, but also specifically we're going to dive into the gutting of the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, and then in relation, the National Endowment for the Humanities.
This is going to be a pretty acronym heavy episode, huh?
It is. It sucks. And I think we'll at a later point get more into in a later episode get more into other ways the administration is attacking the arts. But there's a lot going on with the NEA at this moment. And so we wanted to talk about it because it's been happening since the day Trump took office. And the reporting you see on it is really piecemeal. It's responding to executive orders, injunctions, new budgets. And we're going to try and kind of string it all together into a semi-coherent narrative as best we can and talk about, a little bit about the NEA, why it matters, and then also like what's all this money going to go to instead.
So in case you're looking for more things that the Trump administration is just trying to destroy, we have a whole hour plus lined up for you.
Yeah, so tune out now. Well, yeah, so let's just embark on this little journey.
All right, so what's happened in the past 90 days that have felt like a fucking lifetime?
Yeah, basically since Trump took office, he's been trying to gut the NEA through a series of budgetary strong-arming, bullying, executive orders, trying to get those organizations to enact its policy. And the most recent thing that happened, so today's Sunday when we're recording this, Friday, May the 2nd, so 2 days ago, Trump issued a 2026 budget proposal that would completely eliminate the NEA and the NEH and other federal agencies that support the culture and arts. So that very same day, the NEA and NEH immediately started canceling grants. So organizations across the country start receiving letters of their termination status. And, these letters say stuff like, the projects are no longer aligned with an administration's newly defined priorities.
With the administration's strict diet and aesthetics of, I don't know, McDonald's and casinos.
Yeah. Oh. It's bad. So in an email to the New York Times, the NEA says that it's updating its grant-making policy priorities to focus funding on projects that reflect the nation's rich artistic heritage and creativity as prioritized by the president. Consequently, we are terminating awards that fall outside of these priorities. And this follows the NEA announcing on February 6th new guidelines for arts grants. So those priorities include funding projects that celebrate and honor the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence for its upcoming application cycle.
Has it only been 250 years?
I know. It feels like just yesterday we were signing the Declaration. And also that NEA announcement eliminated the Challenge America grant program, which gave relatively small sums to support smaller community organizations that support the arts in underserved communities.
So I feel like we're going to need a lot of micro summaries as we go through this.
Yeah.
It's a whole mess. It's part of who could have seen this coming? The exact same tactic that the Republicans, the right wing, the Trump administration in particular, have used for years now to just throw a bunch of shit at you and then go somewhere else and then the fuck up the stuff they really care about, which is the things that make them money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's confusing. It's annoying. It sucks. But what's happening here is there was first, just to make sure I have this right, a realigning or a statement from the NEA saying, we have new funding priorities. Make art about the Declaration of Independence and don't make art if you're a small underserved community, or if you do it without any money.
Yeah.
And then just a couple of months later in May, there's now a budget proposal that says no more NEA whatsoever.
Yeah. And basically in response to this proposed budget, the NEA starts complying with to be more in compliance with the Trump admin's policy, canceling grants that they think that will make the Trump admin happy. So they're probably hoping
Just all of them.
Yeah. They're probably just hoping that they'll be saved if they comply enough with this. That never happens because, they fucking hate the arts. And I mean, yes, it's all going to go to like Declaration of Independence art and stupid sculpture gardens in South Dakota, which we will get to.
I'm sure we're all thinking of the same piece of Declaration of Independence art.
There's
so many, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah.
And this really sounds like it's okay. If I just cut off a few more of my remaining fingers, maybe I can keep the rest of my hand.
Yeah. It's so dumb. The compliance just bugs me to no end. Like, grow a spine,
Were you going to say grow a
pair? It's weird because I, at the outset, intended to say grow a spine. And then as it was leaving in my mouth, I was like, why is there a P forming on my lips? And I had to like pivot. It was weird because
you're code switching within your own podcast. When you're talking about politics, you want to say grow a spine. But when you're talking about movies like Velvet Buzzsaw, you have no problem throwing D's nuts out everywhere. Still the same host.
I would never do that. So I think let's back up a little and talk about what the National Endowment for the Arts is, what it does, why is it actually important? So it was a Great Society project signed into law by could have been cool President Lyndon B. Johnson, except for that whole Vietnam War thing.
Oh yeah, I really missed the mark with that one.
I mean, way to just fumble it, my dude. And the endowment's mission is to foster and sustain an environment in which the arts benefit everyone in the United States. And just want to say, this is a teeny tiny budget compared to everything else, all the other bullshit this country spends money on. The budget for the entire NEA is equal to one fighter jet for the military. It is so small. But that hasn't stopped the GOP from just attacking it.
I mean, probably not even fighter jets. Probably all the time they spent exploding goats or something to see how well the next fighter jet will work.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a huge list of getting off topic here.
Yeah.
It's not just the jets, okay?
Or goats.
Cows too, I bet.
People.
Oh,
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. Let's talk quickly about the historical context for defunding.
To be clear, I was not saying goats are more important than people.
No.
I was talking about tests probably funded here with munitions. I know that fighter jets mostly kill people.
Yeah, I would say that's their top target, yeah.
Now that we've cleared that up, please continue.
I know what fighter jets do. I'm not stupid. Conservatives who hate art have been trying to defund the NEA for decades. It first started with who? Who do you think? Reagan.
It's always either Nixon or Reagan.
It's Reagan. So he tried to abolish the NEA in his first term, but abandoned the project when members of his special task force on the arts, Charlton Heston was on this, and so was Joseph Coors. And they were this idea sucks, dude. And so he backed down.
If Charlton Heston's telling you your idea sucks.
Yeah. Well, Charlton Heston, for everything that is shitty about him, he's in the arts,
Yeah.
And you would think also maybe Reagan would have recognized that too, since he had formerly been in the arts, but I guess not.
In Charlton Heston's case, you need movies to make shooting all the guns look cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How are you going to develop that technology without the NEA? And so that, but everything that happened in the Reagan administration that was terrible, that just paved the way for everything that would happen over the coming next several decades. Call back to Piss Christ from our Olympics episode.
Oh, I was wondering what happened to Piss Christ.
Yeah, still floating there.
Yeah, still floating there.
Yeah, by Andrea Serrano. And so if you're curious about the background of that piece at all, Our Olympics, the Art of Outrage episode covers that a little bit more. But Republicans like Jesse Helms, Al D'Amato, Dick Armey, and Christian dirtbags like Pat Robertson and Pat Buchanan all like got really mad about that piece, which was funded by the NEA. And so like they started attacking the NEA. They sent out like mailers to people being like, look what your tax money is funding.
I hope those mailers said, Christ didn't piss. We should all know that.
Christ pissed for your sins.
Yeah, Christ pissed for your sins.
Oh, I hate that.
Merch?
That's not cute. And they just started attacking like all of the general NEA stuff. Around the same time, they got big mad about a Robert Mapplethorpe exhibit that was
I wonder why.
Who's Robert Mapplethorpe?
Photographer from, I don't know, what, 70s, 60s? This is, okay, yeah, that I guess sets the stage, but largely in New York.
Yeah.
Photographed a lot of like queer life stuff. I think our first experience with him in a museum is going to a museum in Rotterdam with a friend and walking into a Robert Mapplethorpe exhibition. And the first thing that just whacks you in the face is a big photo of a man putting a thumb in, I assume, his urethra.
Or maybe somebody else's.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he was a photographer who a urethra. Who was really involved in like the queer kink community in taking like documentary style photos. His lifelong romantic partner was Patti Smith. And unfortunately, he did die of HIV/AIDS in 1989. So he was a very important person in, this like queer arts scene, and was like, I think, a big, like, important figure for people at that time who, I don't know what I'm saying.
I think we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone will still be reeling like I am from thumb in urethra.
Yeah.
From thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both my thumbs are right here.
Let me see your thumbs. Thumbs on the table.
Just quietly. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I didn't really know much about him before that show. And then I think pretty shortly thereafter, Patti Smith's book, I think it's called like Just Kids, came out. Yeah. That is a huge book that won the National Book Award and stuff. So it was nice to like immediately get that context afterward of like, oh, okay, I'm like slowly piecing together why this guy's a big deal. So that was supposed to be an NEA funded exhibition at the Corcoran Museum of Art, but they canceled the exhibition, saying they did not want to adversely affect the NEA's congressional appropriations. They eventually did issue an apology, and the exhibition was held at the Washington Project for the Arts instead. So
we all tried it. Turns out thumbs can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Look, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm really at this point, if I keep hitting this joke, I'm starting to like cross that line of just being insensitive and reductionist here. Robert Mapplethorpe has some amazing work. It's just one particular experience that we
work.
Yeah. There's other stuff. I remember it partially after that first experience.
Yep. I also, in researching this episode, came upon this guy, Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma, who notable art hater.
From Oklahoma?
I came across this 2017 article that was like Life Without the Arts, 10 Crazy Grants Given by the NEA and NEH.
Did he write BuzzFeed articles? He didn't write this.
He didn't write this, but what he did write was called Federal Fumbles. So these are Yeah.
So he did write BuzzFeed articles.
Pretty much.
Or he wrote clickbait. What year did he write Federal Fumbles?
He puts out these PDFs every year about like what federal money went towards. And
sorry, I'm laughing because I'm imagining this is just like a mailing list that you get.
It's so stupid. PDFs. Yeah. It's these long PDFs that are all done in like a football style the whole way through. And they're like
what's a football style?
Like they're like graphics and stuff. So it'll be like fumble.
Oh,
and
like that kind of
there'll be like
football. Yeah.
scoreboards and like.
So like he dusted off his copy of Microsoft Publisher from 1996 or is having check Upwork, check those like freelance boards for anything that's like, can you design my newsletter?
Yeah. Well, this guy's a senator who's all pissed off about like what federal funds go to, but he's hiring some like, there's some graphic design office he can contact.
Maybe he's taking classes. Maybe he does them himself.
Yeah, he's taking night classes at Tulsa Community College.
He's paid by our taxes. That seems like gross misappropriation of tax dollars.
I know. Yeah, maybe
that clip art is not free.
No. Artist made that clip art. Yeah, and this is a guy who spends all this time trying to make these like conceptual little PDFs, being like, the arts are stupid.
Okay, so I know that we're talking about this not because the stupid football metaphor and clip art. What's in these PDFs?
So, like, one of the things that caught my eye when I was reading about this was this claim in the Washington, it's the Washington Times, not to be confused with the Post. But honestly, at this point, probably about the same quality. And this claim of 3 federal agencies have combined to spend $495,000 to support a temporary exhibit to share the best of medieval smells. And I was like, there's no way this is true, or like that this is like the entirety of it, And so I went and I found the Federal Fumbles PDF Volume 2. He also never puts the year on the covers. So you have to go like one by one to figure out like which year was this for. So super annoying. And he would know better if he hired a graphic designer who's better at doing stuff because they had, maybe access to grants and funding for classes or something.
Look, I'm probably making an assumption from the words Oklahoma senator, but how old is this guy? He's
not that old.
Really?
No. I
was going to say like maybe he doesn't know what year it is, but
yeah. So I was like, I got to track some of these down. I got to figure out what's going on here. I went and looked at like the usaspending.gov website where the like details of these grants and things get posted. And like, I was able to access that through footnotes in the PDFs because like he does cite everything.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But it's that thing where the citations are just like there to be like pageantry. And then what they link to either like totally doesn't support the claim, or it's like, okay, now that I read this, it's kind of normal. So
this guy didn't pass high school English.
Yeah. And so I didn't find a ton about on the actual like USA Gov about exactly what the plans were for this exhibition. Usually you have to write a short statement, then you have to write a longer grant explaining like this is where all the money is going to go to paying people salaries. We got to, not always salaries, but if you need to bring on some kind of contractor or something to perform a specific role, that kind of thing.
Create the exact kind of manure that existed.
Yeah.
In the medieval era.
That's not easy.
No, it's a whole different gut biome.
No. And anyway, from the get-go, I was kind of like, I don't know, kind of want to know what medieval smelled like.
Like eternal stew, I hope.
Yeah, I know. I was like, if there's eternal stew there, sign me up. Like, just go get a crock pot full of that. Oh my God.
Yeah, if there's a way they can make a stew still be edible that is older than I am.
Yeah.
Like,
of course they can.
Well, I want to see one.
We're going to make one. I want to
smell one.
Yeah, that'll be a project. That'll be what I apply to an NEA grant for. Please support my forever stew.
Yeah.
But so I did finally find, in 2017, I think Walker Center for the Arts or something did actually have this exhibition. And the statement was, the exhibition brings together more than 100 works representative of the late medieval period, roughly the 12th to 15th century, to explore how the senses enhance the experience of art and how art triggers sensate experience. Included are stained glass, precious metals and gemstones, ivories, tapestries, paintings, prints, and illuminated manuscripts from public and private collections in the U.S. and abroad. So,
where are the smells?
they like pulled out this like one word little thing, like, oh, they
Of all
said
the
smells.
senses, yeah.
They're like senses. So it's just like this guy this is one of those like bad guys, you know? You know bad guys?
I mean, that's all we're talking about right now.
So he
one of those bad guys.
In like volume 7 of Federal Fumbles, he's mad about a $900,000 splash pad in a park in Michigan. Like, he's mad about a $2.5 million grant to revitalize downtown Yuma, Arizona. This guy just does not believe in federal funding at all. But like all of his gripes throughout are like play into these like over the top, like sort of Fox News meme talking points of like, it's never good enough for these people to just be anti-federal funding. They also have to like denounce the idea of like art and things altogether and be like, look at it, isn't this stupid?
I mean, maybe he's jealous of the splash pad. Where was the splash pad?
Michigan,
not Oklahoma.
No.
Why does Michigan get splash pads?
Yeah.
When Oklahoma does not?
Well, he's like very proud of
because of him, probably.
The idea of like, well, we've got museums here that don't take federal funding. And I started to try to investigate that, and I'm going to keep trying to. But I ran out of time before this episode because I don't buy it. Like, he probably like the way like especially NEA grants work is like the NEA will then fund like larger cultural things for states. So like they'll fund a grant making program that's like Oklahoma arts grants people. And then they'll get their funding from there instead of like having to directly apply to the NEA.
Right. So the museums in Oklahoma are bring your own grant.
Yeah.
Bring your own federal funding so we can say that our hands are clean.
And I have no idea if this is like actually true. Maybe it's entirely like fundraising, but I did see something about they were trying to get a big match. One of the museums like that he referenced was trying to get a matching grant from the state. And I was like, but that state money is just going to be coming from the NEA if I had to guess. But it's hard to track down all of this stuff. Like you have to look at tax filings, you have to look at like all sorts of different like documentation, and I didn't get that far. That's my guess. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and that's fine. But like it's the way that they talk about it. Like they just hate anything that might remotely make people's lives better. And they always couch it in like, I hate federal funding for anything. But then they go on to be like, they don't deserve, but like they make fun of it anyway. They make fun of the film festival that they say, believe it or not, the U.S. Department of State awarded $20,600 to a cultural center in Ecuador to host 12 drag shows.
Yep, it's probably exactly that.
It sounds
exactly
really true.
It seems like a very reliable source for what this actually is.
As true as the litter box in my elementary school kids' classroom.
I mean, that's my preferred place to defecate.
Yeah. I could find no evidence that this was true at all. Like, I went to their usaspending.gov's like page. It was described as a film festival to promote discussion and greater understanding of DEIA concepts and current challenges among university and young professionals in Cuenca, Loja, and Zamora in Ecuador. The project involves organizing documentary film screenings on various subjects related to DEIA, followed by discussions and workshops led by 2 U.S. filmmaker envoys. So, like, it's coming through the State Department and stuff. It's like it's like a whole soft power influence thing.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a long-running tradition of Cold War proxy type stuff.
This is
fund culture that's very Western style culture in places where we want to influence.
Yeah. And I mean, that's an American tradition as old as hating the arts. Like they're, everything with how like the CIA used all these different arts organizations to have like a a little power struggle with Russia, who was
The
like
Iowa Writers Workshop, one of
the
those
Iowa
things.
Writers Workshop is like given some grants through these programs. So yeah, lots of money has like flowed that way because America wants to influence people through its art. They believe like with abstract expressionism, like this was a uniquely individualistic form of American art that could be a counter to the Soviet realism happening over in Russia, the USSR, and that like we could use that to be like, look, we have all this freedom to create little splatsy splats everywhere. And they have to paint workers in a field being happy about hard work in a very like realistic manner. Who's got more freedom?
What's the point of all these blue jeans and all this rock and roll if no one's going to see or hear it?
Exactly. Yeah. And so like the CIA and the State Department would like funnel money through like the NEA and stuff to promote different like traveling shows and stuff to like get American art out across the world. And when it's confusing to me like why these like weird conservatives just like don't understand the concept of soft power at all. Like I'm not saying I even necessarily like agree with it. I like cultural exchange. I don't know if it should be up to the government like at these like really high levels.
It's being used as it's weaponized, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't like the idea of like money specifically going to things that like I wish I want it to be like a bigger, freer exchange versus like we should funnel money into like these super specific places that will like influence things in this way. And it's how we like certain types of art came to really dominate. But yeah, I couldn't find any freaking evidence at all that this was like anything about drag shows. I went to the Centro Ecuatoriano Norteamericano's website. This is like the organization. And it's just like a normal run of the mill cultural org. I saw some like poster for the Beatles, like, oh, a tribute to Paul McCartney or something. Like,
notable drag queen Paul McCartney.
Yeah. I have no idea where they got the drag shows thing from. I don't even care if it does contain drag shows. Like, great if it does. But like, it's just so weird how they see the words DIA and then are just like, we were going to use drag interchangeably there.
Yeah, it's just weaponized words.
Yeah.
It's from, they probably have some ChatGPT project set up to just be like, okay, let's attack DEI again.
Yeah.
Throw in the words that I like you to use. Drag. A few others. That's about it, though.
Yeah. So
make sure we have the words in there that'll really piss off the people who are inexplicably still voting for me.
Yeah. So that's that guy. Great. I can't wait until the next edition comes out. Are like,
they annual?
Yeah, he puts them out with like the end of every like fiscal year. For the
someone's trying to burn some budget.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I want to step back though, because like we talked a little bit about like a few things this guy is mad about funding, but like I want to talk about things I'm mad that the NEA funds, which includes Hamilton.
Chris has got some opinions and some hot takes, and now you're going to hear about him.
No. That's
why we have this podcast.
I think that like the NEA, I think, funds incredible work. And so some stuff like people may recognize our Sundance and like the Sundance Film Festival. But then also the Sundance Institute Directors Lab. So this is like a place designed for like startup writers and directors who are like trying to make one of their like first films in their career, a place where they can get like mentorship support, financial support. And some of the people who have been through there and the movies they produce are Wes Anderson, who created Bottle Rocket there.
His first film, yeah.
Yeah, Kimberly Pierce, Boys Don't Cry. Darren Aronofsky, Requiem for a Dream, which I think we could have done without.
I mean, it's just too sad, man.
No, thank you, Sundance. It's too sad.
Could have had a rich life doing heroin, but they had to go and fund Requiem for a Dream.
I know. And
here I am, sober like a loser.
Yeah, but it'll be summer soon, and then we can do heroin.
That was the good part of that movie. Yeah. That was the happy part when they're doing heroin.
Yeah, you just don't do it in the winter. That's the only rule.
That's the message.
Exactly.
That's the message the CIA wants you to know by funding.
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs. Personally, I can do without Tarantino, but I know other people like him, so I thought I'd throw that in.
I liked that movie a lot when I was 17.
Yeah. I mean, 17-year-olds love a lot of stuff on this list. The Lower East Side Tenement Museum. That's a really popular tourist sort of attraction funded by the NEA. If you've ever seen a Ken Burns documentary, those get NEH funds. Hamilton, like I said, Hamilton. So now it's kind of like maybe we should abolish it. I don't know.
Maybe we'll come back to this later when we get more into like these new guidelines for the NEA. But Hamilton is one of the few works, not the one that I was thinking about at first.
Yeah,
that's reserved for National Treasure.
Yeah,
but Hamilton is one of the few works that actually feels like, yeah, it is like directly engaging with American history that way as contemporary art. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. So
I know other works engage with that stuff, but like Hamilton is like pretty celebratory for how recent it is.
I mean, I have no idea. It could actually be like, damn, this country sucks. But I don't think it is.
No, I think too many people like it for that.
Yeah, that's true.
The people who don't like it, I think, don't like it that it's not a bunch of white people.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like,
and that the white people who are in it are rapping.
Yeah. Can you believe it?
Yeah. But then I also know that people who like hip hop a lot are really annoyed with Hamilton.
Yeah.
Because it's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
Trying to rap, but look at the guy. Yeah. Listen to the guy.
I
guess maybe he raps well, but I don't know.
Maybe.
We're getting into these are not my opinions part because I have not seen this.
Yeah. It could be amazing. But it also funds a Prairie Home Companion. So again, abolish. No, but it also funds a lot of NPR programming.
Yeah. That's a whole other target.
Yeah. And like, oh my God, do they ever hate NPR? So
I mean, Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about
it. I know. Somebody has to stop them.
There are all those shows that just have been on for decades that seem to be for when you're riding in the back seat with your parents driving somewhere and they have the radio on and it's Garrison Keillor doing Lake Wobegon on one of those shows, which they're fine, but what is this? Why are we still doing this?
I know. It's so weird.
What is the concept here?
I don't know.
Who is this for?
Not us. And that's why when people ask me like, who'd you vote for? I'm going to say Trump because he promised he'd do away with a Prairie Home Companion.
Trump because I'm sick of hearing Garrison Keillor's voice.
Well, we don't have to hear him anymore, right?
Is he dead?
No, he got Me Too'd.
Oh.
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he was...
He seemed from his mic presence like he was a close talker, so that gets you part of the way there.
Yeah. He's not as old as I thought he was. He created the show, blah, blah, blah. Hosted through 2016.
Oh, so Trump did kill him.
Oh, yeah. One of those tribunals.
Now, those are only against small business owners, I thought.
Yeah. I see
Antifa.
See it right here on Wikipedia. Tribunals. Okay, no, he left the show before he got Me Too'd in 2017.
But he was Me Too'd.
He was, yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, problem solved then. They can leave NPR alone.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, we're good.
All right, I'm back to defending NPR.
I think it's still on though. Like Prairie Home Companion still exists.
Okay, then.
So
what were we talking about?
I wanted to also talk about we talked about some of the notable things people might recognize are funded by the NEA and the NEH, but I also want to talk about not so notable things funded through these programs, but that are just as important. And that's going to be your local small playhouses, orchestras and symphonies, galleries and other art spaces, arts education. So things like, education for children, small museums and community centers, literary festivals, historical preservation, and public access TV. All of those things get funded by the NEA and NEH. So like when, in a year, we're all going like, and there's nothing to do in my town.
That's not true. We'll have our military parades.
That's true. I can't wait. They're going to have the best gosh darn military parades. And we can all take our once a year annual pilgrimage to the fucking sculpture garden in South Dakota.
Yep. The rest of the time we'll spend eating at Chick-fil-A and going to the Regal Cinema and whatever you do in all those parts of America that just have no funding for this stuff, where every intersection looks the same.
Like that's where I grew up in a town like in Texas that it was like just so average and boring and stupid and normal. So 100,000 people, and that had just enough support for like a little like repertory theater. There were little like museums for like, the town and stuff. There was a children's museum. There were like historical preservation projects, like old jail museums and stuff like that. And like, my grandmother was really involved in those kinds of things. And that's where all of those kinds of things gets money. Like that was a place where like, my grandma could take me for the day. Those are things we could go do together.
Right.
Like they're really important for families, especially. And they're really important for like town. Like one of the NEA grantees that I saw got cut was this old jail arts center in a town called Albany, which is just 2 hours away from where I grew up. And like the thing about those centers is like that it was like a historical preservation project. And then they put an art gallery in it to like support and show Texas artists. And like, that's where like that town, like that's going to be that town's biggest collector of art. So like, that's where like so much cultural like knowledge and heritage is. And like, people like other institutions can borrow then from that institution. So if there is a like bigger like retrospective of Texas artists happening in like Austin or somewhere else, they can like borrow from these institutions. And that's why it's so important that they be funded and maintain funding along with like the community like support that they provide and like the education for like children's field trips and community events. But guess not.
The family thing you mentioned is important too, because you mentioned your grandmother taking you to these things quite a bit. Children's museums, even just that one, is such a big part of low-cost things to do with kids.
Yeah.
We're also right now having all this I'm trying to think of words besides nonsense, but that's all I can think of.
It's all nonsense.
Like,
and you know how I feel about nonsense.
Yeah, you do not abide nonsense.
I hate nonsense.
Yeah. But all the stuff about like, oh yeah, we're going to pay new parents $5,000 to have children, which doesn't pay for a month of childcare.
No.
You know what's cheaper childcare? Having a relative or someone take the child to the children's museum.
Yeah, take them to the library for the day. And like the thing about children's museums is like kids can look at the same crap every day for like months and be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And like they always have like events and programming and story times. I went to a bunch of story times at like the children's museum in my town when I was a kid because like, yeah, it's a really important place for that.
Childcare often fell on my parents. They both worked. But a lot of what I did in the summers when I was at a school was go to day camps at the kids science museum or the children's theater or places like that. Those are the things that we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like in a year when it's like, why do I have no like low cost camps to send my kid to like during the summer break? This is going to be why.
I'll just drop them off at the mall.
Yeah, well, something I want to talk about is like, what is the NEA now going to prioritize? Because one of those things on the list is empower houses of worship to serve communities. And and with that, those are the kinds of places that will be able to expand their childcare offerings and get people who like maybe have no other choice to put their kids into like a religious daycare.
It's almost like the people who scream so loudly about your kids getting indoctrinated want to indoctrinate your kids.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Who could have seen that coming?
Not a lot of voters, I guess. I don't know.
Or, yeah. Oh, memory of a goldfish, man. So along with empowering houses of worship to serve communities, and the celebrating the 250th anniversary of American independence, the NEA is also going to focus its resources on fostering AI competency, assisting with disaster recovery, fostering skilled trade jobs, making America healthy again, supporting the military and veterans, supporting tribal communities, making the District of Columbia safe and beautiful, and supporting the economic development of Asian American communities.
What a wild ride that sentence was.
What a list, yeah.
Just throw them all into an AI image generator, see what comes out. Hey, Chris,
Hey.
do you want an NEA grant?
Yes.
Yeah, let's just
do
drop
that.
this into whatever the fuck, Grok AI or something.
Write that down. It'll go into our suite of projects.
Wait, no, I can't get sidetracked by any one of these. But making the District of Columbia safe and beautiful?
I
have a project called DC Statehood that maybe could get some funding.
Oh, yeah? That sounds like a good project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If our priorities are aligned there, maybe we count the votes of the people who live in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, maybe their like opinions should matter or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't understand how this is a list for an arts organization. What is the disaster recovery stuff like?
It's because this was written by some MAGA idiot in the administration using AI.
Yeah.
It was like,
here's
the memo.
yourself.
Here's the memo that I got. Yeah. Save
becoming
yourself.
sentient.
Yeah. AI competency at the beginning. Be nice to the AIs. Don't hit the robots with hockey sticks like those guys at Boston Dynamics do.
Kill those guys at Boston Dynamics.
Also kill those guys. Yeah, make Boston safe and beautiful for robots.
Yes, exactly. We're never going to live in a utopia as long as robots are enslaved.
Yeah. I think we figured it out. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. It's such a weird list.
Just in Amazon Alexa.
Is it like, is supporting military and veterans, like, are we supporting the art of the military? Like, are we supporting parades and veteran art? I'm so confused.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure they'd be into that, but like, just imagine art you would see like this. I don't think the scene even exists, but you're driving through the ideal of small town America in the 50s, and there's some like veteran there who paints bald eagles on pieces of wood from, I don't know, houses built during the Depression, and he's selling that on the side of the road to you in your Cadillac. Is that what this is?
I guess.
Actually, let's make that painting.
Okay, add it to the list.
Of that scene, yeah.
I'm applying for NEA grants with all of these ideas.
I think there are a lot of back tattoos that would fit this description too.
Yes, definitely. You can finally get one of those national parks residencies with that project. Painting eagles on. Apply for like the Denali one so I can go stay there and make eagle paintings on wood.
Here's the catch though. We're not going to have any more national parks.
No.
All the bald eagles will go to the Chick-fil-A ovens.
This is for another podcast. Dealing with how Trump is gutting the national parks. This is not for this one.
Chick-fil-A ovens too far.
Yeah. I didn't even hear you.
Oh, I said all
I'm sorry I didn't hear your joke.
It's okay.
I bet it was good.
Just do a laugh and I'll patch it in. I said, there'll be no more Denali. All the bald eagles will go to the Chick-fil-A ovens.
Yeah, that's funny, actually.
Genuine joke. I'm going to patch it in.
No, it was funny. No. You just keep it as is. I don't care.
Me coercing you into laughing at my joke.
No, I thought it was funny. I'm so glad I heard it. So let's talk a little more about this priority for projects. Like we've mentioned it a few times now, like the priority of honoring the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
250, huh?
250.
Order of 1,000.
Yeah. I mean,
big number.
What is it called? It's a semi-quintennial. Semi-quintennial.
You're the one who has made trying to pronounce things a part of your personal brand. I saw that word and I thought, I am not going to say that.
250 years is fine with me.
Wait, what is the word?
Semi-quincentennial?
Do you have it in front of you?
No.
Oh, Susquehanna.
Oh, yeah.
Susquehanna.
Sacagawea?
Yeah.
Well, as like in prep for this episode, we were like, what art is there actually been about like the Declaration of Independence? Like, what could this possibly be? And like, you looked into it a little, but then I was also like, we have to watch National Treasure.
We watch National Treasure.
Yeah.
I know this is a podcast where we sometimes watch movies that have art in them, which it seems like that would have been a good fit. We watched it. It's such a stupid movie. It's like
so stupid.
It's barely even about the Declaration of Independence.
Well, they're using it to find like Da Vinci codes everywhere.
Yeah, there's just shit written on the back. There's
it really does
an
just
escape
feel
room where one of the clues is the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And then it gets shot a bunch, which seems like that's art right there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I want to, one of my
Sean
NEA grant applications is going to be just shooting the Declaration of Independence at a gun range. I'm going
Has
to
it not been done?
I don't care.
No, I mean, like it's
yeah.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Do that thing like National Treasure where, you know, there's all like the switcheroo over he pretends that he's walking out with a poster replica of it.
Right.
And then like the lady makes him pay for it. And so he like swipes his credit card, doesn't have the right change for the poster. And that's how they find him later.
Yeah.
But
amateur hour. Yeah.
You're like, no, it's okay. It's a poster. And they'll
then
be like,
again,
no, we saw that movie National Treasure. You clearly have the real Declaration of Independence that you're shooting.
Maybe it wasn't such a bozo move because like they always say never commit a misdemeanor while you're committing a felony.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. My friends say that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. All my prison friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so garbage. Like, why was it such a bad movie? And like, it really did feel like somebody was like, okay, Da Vinci Code, less Pope, America.
Yeah.
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 And
also,
yeah, just really bad.
Less Templars, less everything.
No, they were in there.
They were like in the beginning, and then it was mostly just we need to pad out this 25-minute film with explosions to make it 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more to that.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Like, it was longer than that. I was there the whole time. Actually, I really spaced out and started playing Wordle. This is just really bad. Do not see it. And
sesquicentennial. So this whole time I was like trying to look up the word and I just typed in a bunch of things and spelled it wrong. And eventually I got the right result.
Just started hitting your keyboard.
Wait,
and like,
hold on. No, sorry. Sesquicentennial is 150 years.
Oh.
Wait for it. Semiquincentennial is 250 years.
Didn't I say that?
Probably. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, does that fit into your Wordle? Absolutely not.
No. So the whole thing is about submitting plans for events that are happening in like March 1st, 2026. Sponsors include Coca-Cola, Walmart, Meta, and Goldman Sachs.
The best American companies.
Yeah. Only the best.
Yeah. And when I think of America, I think of what it means and what the founding fathers had in mind. I think of Goldman Sachs.
Yes. I think that, you know, I feel like these corporations should just get together and make like some art together about it. We could hold like a community arts event, like a social practice thing where we get all the executives and VPs in one room and I like make them do like popsicle art and stuff to like represent America.
Trace their hands to make turkeys.
Yeah, exactly. Stupid. So that's not going to produce anything good. I mean, yeah, what other, I know you found like some other art that had been produced that was like had to do with.
Yeah, I mean, there is a rich tradition in the past century of American art of, you know, making art that engages with the mythology of this country.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot there, and that may be a thing that we dig into in our deep dive episode after this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is a lot of it, but it's critical, right? It's about that gap between the, the promise myth, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
of like the ideals of the American project, or, whatever the word is people use, and what the reality is, especially if you've grown up here as a part of a marginalized community.
Yeah. Well, and you did find stuff that are kind of about like the founding ideals, but less so specifically about like the Declaration of Independence itself.
A piece of paper. I mean, there are things that reference it, but yeah, it's one
like
part
National
of it.
Treasure.
Yeah.
It's such a weird like thing to center all of your arts funding around.
I mean, is it though? Like,
No.
it's...
Yeah, and I mean, this is just the first step towards this being the only kind of art we can make. Like, pretty soon, the way things are going, we talked earlier about like Soviet realism and stuff. That was a style in the USSR that was like required to be an artist. Like, you couldn't do abstraction. You couldn't do deal with subject matter that was like critical of the state and things like that.
Whatever their version of DEI was.
Yeah.
Capitalist, yeah.
Yeah, the bourgeoisie or whatever. Like they just
the blue jeans, the rock and roll.
The blue bourgeois. I don't know.
Bourgeoisie.
Yeah, I was trying.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't land it. And like so that's the thing. Like they hate the arts, but they want to control it too.
Well, also like the parallel to, I mean, I know the USSR isn't the only place where we've seen there's been that kind of control over the arts. It's the thing in Nazi Germany. That parallel's been drawn a lot.
Yeah.
That one's still
shit.
relevant here.
Yeah.
But like, especially with the USSR stuff, I mean, the people who are really promoting this kind of control over the arts, you'd think they would be like pretty concerned with the proximity of what they're doing to a model laid out by Soviet Russia. These are all like neo-McCarthyists.
But like they're not, because they just don't like when the other people have control.
Yeah, it's
I mean, you could say
we're the dictators, not you.
I mean, you could say the same thing about like China and stuff, where it's like, China has all sorts of like rules about like, censorship and stuff, and like artists like Ai Weiwei cannot go to China where he is from, because he creates like political art and art that is critical of Chinese society, among many others who are exiled or have like been otherwise censored. But like the powers here, they don't care that it looks just like that, or that we're like trending that way, because like they look at China and they criticize them as like being like this other evil world power, but they're just kind of jealous. They're like, we want that kind of control over our society.
Oh yeah, for all the hand wringing about contemporary Russia in the U.S.
Yeah,
whether it's from Republicans or Democrats, it's really like in this case about like, well, no, we want to be our own version of what Putin's got going on in Russia.
Yeah, totally. And as long as like the arts aren't free, like that will always be like one of those early symbols of like what's coming for everyone else. And that's like what happened with the degenerate art of the Nazi era, of art that dealt with things like queerness or like issues of like politics and stuff that were critical of the Nazis. Like that was degenerate art. And they actually, like the Nazis actually organized like a degenerate art exhibit. It was like aimed to educate the public about like the perceived dangers of modern art.
I mean, there was a lot of that too, with like movies about Jews to make an example of how dangerous they were. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like a cool idea, except of course, like, people died. But like they did say like degenerate art was like cubism. Like, okay, oh no. But I mean, then you look at pieces like
cubism's pretty woke.
Yeah, like certain pieces that are like Guernica, and you're like, I get why they wouldn't like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, to summarize, like all of this is often attacked by right-wing governments, dictatorships, etc., because it typically does engage with challenging modes of thought
Mm-hmm.
and challenging power and questioning it. And that's why when we talk about what art has there been about the Declaration of Independence in the past 100 years, after everyone got over the let's paint George Washington crossing the Potomac or whatever the fuck it was.
Delaware.
What's the Potomac?
Other
I'm
river.
from the West Coast. I don't. We learned about Lewis and Clark. There was water. George Washington had people rode him across it while someone painted it. I don't know. But art, in the past, in the 20th century and 21st century about the U.S. has been critical in examining what is living in America like.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fit with the sculpture garden aesthetics of celebrating this country.
Yeah. One other thing I just want to point out about degenerate art, quote unquote, is the Nazis also used the degenerate art label as a means to confiscate art from museums, from private individuals and collections, so that they could destroy it or in a lot of cases sell it.
Oh yeah. No, that's we're going to get degenerate crypto in this country. There's going to be confiscations.
Yeah. And so if you are one of those people who doesn't have your private art collection in a free port in Switzerland, you better get it there because
pro tip.
Yeah. I'm
it's
very
worth the investment.
I'm very bullish on Swiss parking your art in Switzerland at this moment because you don't want your art collection falling in the hands of the state and getting sold off.
The $10 that I've realized I should be embarrassed to tell people that I put into Doge when Elon Musk started appearing in the government. I thought that would be safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought investing my crypto money into not woke coins would keep it safe, but that shit's doing horribly.
It's doing so bad.
Yeah.
I think it's in the negatives. Can that even happen?
I just lit $10 on fire.
Yeah.
Never get that back.
That's gambling for you, baby. And that's
gambling.
All crypto is. Just big old gambling, which is legal now everywhere, all of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to do it in the right casino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that I did just want to highlight that because it's this entire administration's their goal is to strip this country down and sell it for parts, privatize everything, make sure that the people who are situated to buy what remains are your friends and that they can take a part in the spoils when it's done. And it wouldn't surprise me if in a little bit we start seeing oh, what's all this art in this collection? It seems very not we don't like this kind of art existing in the Smithsonian's collection. We better sell it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or put it into the Sacklers sell a lot of art, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where they fall in all this, but I can't imagine it's against much of this happening.
Yeah, I'm going to take this picture of Lady Liberty with her tit out and put it in Mar-a-Lago to keep it safe. Because I don't think the American people should see it.
Nope, it's definitely not for anyone's personal use.
Nope.
No. For Donald.
Oh, God.
I have a lot I want to talk about with Lady Liberty's tit.
Of course you do.
Well, not just
that's all you
tit.
talk about these days. Yeah, Lady Liberty's tit.
You know what I was thinking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, because John, I recently remembered this little bit from my teen years around the outbreak of the Iraq War and the Bush 2 era of John Ashcroft ordering Lady Liberty's boob to be covered up because he didn't want to be photographed in front of it. There's more to get into there. Maybe that's a story for a different episode, but
just move 10 feet to the left, bro.
Well, the thing is, it had the total Streisand effect of him saying that every story I looked up last month when I was thinking about this again, every story in NBC or whatever that was about him saying that had a photo of him in front of Lady Liberty with her boob out.
Yeah, there's this catnip to editors. You can't make it that easy for them. Just quietly put the conference somewhere else. What are you doing?
Gonna lock it up and only John Ashcroft will have the key.
Yeah. Just gonna take it over to the storage unit that my friends and family don't know about.
It's where I keep all of my documents from when I was president.
Who?
I'm back to
John
I'm back to the
Ashcroft?
Mar-a-Lago thing.
Oh, okay.
This is the
I see. I was like, John Ashcroft wasn't president, was he?
This is the right-wing shitbag cinematic universe, Chris. Keep up.
Yeah. I can't.
So, of the new guidelines that the NEA had put out in February, before just 2 months later, it is facing actually was being dismantled. One of the new guidelines for the NEA grants was that, it should align with what America 250, the semi-quintent, the 250 year anniversary of the U.S., be about the Declaration of Independence, be about AI competency, be about beautifying and protecting and having more police or whatever in DC. But the other part of this is that they're no longer going to be in the fiscal year 2026 offering the Challenge America grant, which I dug into a little bit about the grant structure of the NEA. This is not super exciting stuff. Applying for art grants is kind of miserable, and that's what researching this felt like. But
it's literally like the worst. It's like why I gave up on art. It was like I can't write another grant. Yeah, no, it was like I could like try and apply for a bunch of grants to like make my work visible, or I could like make a podcast and like just make work like art for fun on the side instead of like having to write grant applications, which is the most demoralizing, soul-sucking experience.
Yeah, because you make art or you think about an idea for art, and then you go to your computer after you finish your full-time job and say, in this essay, I will explain this work and why it aligns with your funding priorities for fiscal year 2020X.
Yeah, it sucks. Like,
here's who I am. Here's my history of doing this stuff.
I will say, like, the way that like grants work in this country, like, it's hard because like I totally believe that like there should be public funding, generous public funding from the arts, and I get so jealous of like friends that I have who live in other countries.
Canada?
Oh my God, where they're just like, hello, may I please have some money? And they're like, yes.
We had a roommate.
Why didn't you ask sooner?
When I was in art school, we had a roommate who was from Canada who was in the US studying art because Canada said, we're going to give you money to go study art in the US.
Yeah, they just like, oh my gosh, yeah.
And keep making it afterward.
Yeah, and like it, like I've applied to so many grants and like have gotten like so few. Well, I haven't really gotten grants. I've gotten prizes, which is a little different.
Grants too, but like,
you've gotten grants. I haven't. Like without you, I don't think. I don't remember.
We did our art together.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
for that purpose.
Fine.
Our grants.
Okay.
Right, but I feel like that's the experience of the vast majority of artists. Is it's a baby sea turtles thing.
Yeah.
You write so many of these. It takes so much of your time.
Yeah.
So much of your time where you're not making the art.
Yeah.
And then you get a few, maybe it's for like 10K, maybe it's for more, maybe it's less. And then that funds it. And then you have to report the hell out of it.
Yeah. I'll know like Europeans and stuff who are like, oh yes, I got an opportunity to do this project and the government gave me money for it. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, I wrote them a letter and they said, fine, go for it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Do you want a little more money? I was like, Jesus.
Do you want to know what it's about? Oh, we don't really care. Yeah. It's probably great.
Yeah.
We have 5,000 other things we're funding in the arts, so go for it.
I know.
I'm sure you'll do great, sweetie.
Yeah. Always very jealous. What I was just trying to say is like, I think that like the way that like grants have been, it has produced some amazing art, but like the way that it is structured and like the way you have to like fight for scraps through like these funding processes is really difficult to, and like very much like a dream killer, kind of thing.
There is like a reason for all this griping though in the context of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's that historically there have been two types of grants that the NEA would give out. Maybe there's more, but there are two that are relevant for what we're talking about here. One is the grants for artist projects, I believe it's
grants
called.
For arts projects.
Arts projects, yeah. GAP for organizations, institutions.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones, kind of the bigger things that when you hear this thing got NEA funding, that's usually what it's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
There was also this program called Challenge America. These were much smaller grants that were about $10,000
Yeah.
For organizations that could also prove that they were getting matching funding.
Yeah.
So they would have like $20K. Usually these were small arts orgs in underserved communities that didn't have the same track record of a bigger organization, right? So you have a fledgling arts organization in a community, you can get some funding. The government would give you matching funding up to $10K. So you could continue this work, even if you can't show the same, I think it was 3 years for gap programs of 3 years of programming and shows and work. It's to help get you started.
Yeah.
And it also had a much easier, a much lower barrier to entry and much easier application process because of what we were just talking about. It is extremely difficult, requires a lot of know-how, requires a lot of experience to apply for bigger arts grants.
Yep.
That's all gone.
Big institutions have grant writers for that reason. People who are in the position to apply for those grants, like bring on contract or have grants writers on staff to not only write the grant and request, but you have to track metrics and stuff once you're at that league. You have to be able to say we fulfilled the goal by serving X number of people. We ran X number of programs, and those grants people also keep you on track for the next year when you have to write the grant again.
It takes some infrastructure. It takes some personnel.
Yeah. So these Challenge America grants were actually, the entire program was wiped out back in February. And that was when the NEA released their initial updates on grant guidelines. So, we just had this recent spate of the grant for arts projects,
the gap
stuff being canceled, but these smaller grants were eliminated earlier this year.
Wait, have they been canceled?
Yeah, the
budget submitted has no more NEA, and that includes the gap grants.
Yeah, okay, but only some gap grants, because the NEA is responding to the Trump admins attack on them of saying I'm gonna abolish funding completely. So the NEA is trying to acquiesce to the demands to eliminate things that the admin might find objectionable. They don't want to be seen funding anything that has to do with DEIA, all that kind of stuff.
Guess I'll cancel my Ecuadorian drag show.
Yeah, I was gonna have so much fun.
I know. So when we're just going to stay in February for a minute, because this is still the timeline here and the piecing together of all the different steps that lead to this. What we're seeing right now with the NEA facing elimination, certainly not going to be the last we hear in this shit saga.
No.
But in February, the motivation the NEA gave for eliminating the Challenge America grants was that they wanted their staff to focus on just administrating the gap grants, right? Only the big ones. They don't have the funding for it, wasteful, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. They said that the larger gap grants would continue, but applicants who have submitted are all required to fill out a new application. So they want whatever staff they have to focus on just one grant program.
Yeah.
But they also want to add even more admin overhead by making everyone submit again with the new guidelines.
Yep.
Which begs the question, who's going to read all those applications? I mean, we've seen this across the board with science funding in the past few months, and all these science grants getting cut.
Yeah, because they include the word transition when it's they're talking about transitional aged youth and foster programs, not we're not talking about trans issues. We're not talking about people who are
but Marco Rubio wasn't thinking about that when he Control F searched the word diversity or trans or whatever. And
it's ridiculous.
In all the documents.
Talking about the diversity of the human genome or something, and they're oh, cut it. It's stupid woke stuff. So we're all doomed.
Great. Let's call that's the episode. See you all.
All right.
See y'all in hell.
Yeah. This sucks. But yeah, I mean, they are definitely the motivation I see behind that is okay, we tried to run our little algorithm through this and it gave us really inconsistent results on what we should cut. So instead, now, like, if they just like resubmit this in like this form, we'll have a much easier time.
The problem's not the algorithm.
No, I mean,
Grok is fine. Grok is great.
Grok is amazing. Grok can make no mistakes.
So with these new guidelines, there were also these compliance requirements for NEA grants. Again, we're still talking February. We're still talking before all this was eliminated. So part of those compliance requirements were, can you guess what they were about? I mean, I know you know what they are about, but can anyone guess what compliance from the Trump administration for receiving federal funding for your arts projects would be about?
Make sure they all reassure Trump that he's a special boy.
Yeah. Make sure they comply with all executive orders with the explicit aim of, quote, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing, saying such efforts are discriminatory. And those, just to use their words exactly, it's DEI programs that they say violate federal anti-discrimination laws by discriminating against white people, using federal funds to, quote, promote gender ideology, and then, list whatever executive order. Here's the thing. You go to the NEA website and you can see online their guidelines for applying for their grants. There's a section there that has clearly been there for a while. That's about, it's kind of boilerplate, federal anti-discrimination law. Like here's all the code. Here are the references. You can't be ableist. You can't make these things. It's stuff you see on almost any job application, for example. In
any job application right now.
Yeah. But below that, there's an added section. It's not even included in that list. There's a new section that's clearly appended under the, old school anti-discrimination requirements that says, quote, in addition, the applicant agrees that if the applicant is selected and becomes an NEA grant recipient, they will comply with all the executive orders that directly contradict the boilerplate above, is like essentially what it is.
Whoa.
Like it's got the boilerplate, and then, you cannot discriminate people on the basis of gender, of, disability, etc. But also you can't discriminate in general by doing DEI, by promoting gender ideology. And it just eats itself in that second list below.
Can an individual violate an executive order? I don't.
We'll probably find out pretty soon.
We're gonna learn.
Yeah. There's my art project.
Yeah. How do I violate an executive order? Because aren't executive orders, those are for agencies.
Yeah, in this
why
case,
would I'm not an employee of the agency, so why on earth would I have to comply with that? I don't know. I am not a lawyer. I am not very smart about these things. Maybe there is something. There probably isn't, because nothing that this administration has done is legal.
Well, Chris, I appreciate the question, and you probably won't even need to ask it, because under that appended section, there is another appended section in italics, each bullet point. Every time there's, an executive order that's pointed out and listed by number, it then says below that in italics, please note that, the pointing out the term above won't apply to the current award so long as it, insert injunction from, insert court here. It just goes through this long list and says, but it doesn't matter because this circuit court said this executive order is bullshit. Here's injunction. So pretty much you don't have to comply with it as long as that injunction is in place. But from reading it, it sounds like it's saying if that injunction is struck down while you have the grant, it's going to be back and forth, baby.
Yeah. And it's just ridiculous. And that's what this administration tries to do, is just confuse through layers and layers of legalese, through making is
that why Chris named his band that?
Every time I accidentally say layers and layers outside, because I do it a lot when talking about this kind of stuff, we should just play the music over it.
Yeah, I need to get my soundboard
get
up.
A soundboard so you can play that, because I don't even notice. It's usually you. Yeah, but it's so hard to keep up with because they're intentionally obfuscating their what is legal, what is required, and stuff like that. It says, we're 3 layers deep on bullshit now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're in
you can't fool me, young lady. It's bullshit all the way down.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's the way you dismantle anti-discrimination laws is, yeah, there's a legal component to that. It takes some time. But in the public consciousness, you just make it so discrimination means nothing anymore. You fight discrimination with discrimination. It's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
You fight fire with fire, and then eventually you just, that doesn't even make sense. But like the term fire means nothing anymore, and then people will willingly walk into fire for Donald Trump.
Very Dada-esque.
I know.
Yeah. It's very skibbity toilet.
Very what?
Very skibbity toilet.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
It's me neither, actually. But it is a meme I saw about how skibbity toilet is like the Dada of our generation. Well, not my generation, the younger.
Are you going to ask me to do an episode about that?
I thought about it.
I think I'm too old for that.
Yeah. Well, the meme's stale, so it's fine.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Simon. Like, speaking of just like all the chaos and the intentional chaos, and also like national parks and how we won't have those much longer. Trump says he is directing Bureau of Prisons to reopen Alcatraz to house ruthless and violent offenders.
Someone just saw The Rock.
Yeah.
The movie The Rock.
The movie, not like the guy.
Yeah.
The Rock visited
I ran into Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Well,
he had a great idea.
Isn't The Rock in The Rock?
No.
He's not?
No.
No, he should be.
I don't think he was acting then. Sean Connery's in it. He says, "Welcome to The Rock."
Oh, yeah? Is he really not in The Rock? He should be.
They
need to do a remake.
Real missed opportunity.
I think I always just kind of assumed he was in it. Because, obviously.
You would think.
Yeah, he didn't start acting until like 2005 or 2000. Yeah.
Just the stars didn't align. Wait, that story came out like while we were talking about that, or today?
Yeah, no, it came out like an hour ago. Like it just popped up. So I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to Alcatraz, but like it sucks.
Where will the tourists go? Where will the high school or the elementary school field trips go?
It's a national park.
Wait, we'll go there to gawk at all the violent offenders.
Yeah, well, yeah. Put all the like
Park.
local kids in a scared straight Justice
That's
Park.
how they're going to protect the children.
Yeah. This is very horrifying. So it's one of those things where it closed in like 1960s because it was too expensive to keep running and like operating. Like
they found billions. Like Doge found billions. So they can just put it
we can now pay. Yeah. Now, well, because we cut all the arts.
Right.
We can afford it now. Yeah.
And we can make The Rock 2. Is there a Rock 2? We can make another Rock movie. Another The Rock movie.
Lost
starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. Trump could be in it, just like he was in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Yeah. That's the end game here. So I'm really glad to see that. That's a CNN article, right? He pulled up.
Yeah.
CNN. I'm really glad to see that they have definitely learned their lesson from the first Trump administration of just report whatever bullshit comes out of the man's mouth.
I mean, this is a whole other like thing of mine and a whole separate like part of things I think about a lot, but like we've got to change the way we report the news. And I know that
not on a 24-hour cycle, maybe.
Yeah, I know none of these like media companies have any interest in that, and like any interest other than like the pay for clicks model, but like, an ad revenue, but like we can't. This is unsustainable the way like we've been going.
Yep.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah. We got some art stuff to talk about though, right? Not that the movie The Rock isn't art.
No, it's a beautiful
really
piece of art.
Yeah.
It's very important to my culture and my family.
Yeah, if it's not in the Smithsonian, it should be.
It's clearly not that important to my family because I didn't know The Rock wasn't in The Rock. But it should be.
All right. Yeah, you've said it enough times now where I feel like we have to start a change.org petition.
Right. Well, what if I applied for an NEA grant?
Edit the Rock into The Rock?
Yeah, or just like do a reboot with The Rock in it.
Green screen him, do whatever the technology they use for the Marvel movies and just put him in it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I'm going to be honest. I have a hard time separating in my mind the movie The Rock from the movie Con Air. I know they're vastly different, but...
Yeah, he does seem like he would be in it too.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
He's just got that face. Well, speaking of national heroes like The Rock, we have like we've talked a little bit around these plans for a national sculpture garden.
Just want to commend you on that segue. Is he getting a sculpture?
No, I don't. I didn't see his name on the list, but I also didn't like really fully maintain the whole list.
The list surely isn't done yet.
No, probably not.
There's still room for new heroes.
Well, because so the
Sorry,
project.
we're getting ahead of it.
Yeah,
please explain. Yeah,
it's the National Garden of American Heroes. So this was some dumb idea Trump had in his first term, and all of the NEH funds are now going towards this. So like all the grants that have been revoked are like getting reapportioned to this like garden he wants to build that's going to have 250 life-size statues of American heroes on like people who have made America great, and it's like it's so stupid.
is that there's a photo here that or a rendering here? Is
Yeah.
that what that's of?
I think that's Amelia Earhart.
But is that rendering is like an architectural?
So I
Agencies,
believe that this
firms.
was from South Dakota. Like, so the governor is like a groveling little weasel who like wrote a letter to Trump being like, I love your idea for a sculpture park, and I think it should be in South Dakota with a view of Mount Rushmore. So you can actually kind of see there's like a choppy little Mount Rushmore in the background there. It's like not fully like rendered, but it's like kind of hinting at a Mount Rushmore.
I mean, that depiction of Mount Rushmore looks like treason to me. That makes it look like shit.
Yeah, it's really dumb. And yeah, no, you can if you zoom way in, you can actually see the guys are smaller than you think they're gonna be.
Yeah.
And oh my god, don't even get me started on Mount Rushmore. But
I only know it from the movie Richie Rich.
Oh yeah, I saw it in person on a trip in with like what are those things that you do when you're young and youth groups?
You mean the money that goes to what childcare and centers of faith or whatever we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I had to pay for it, but maybe yeah.
Well, soon that won't be a problem.
No, but yeah, he's like the governor of South Dakota, Larry Roden or whatever, is like, you should put it in the Black Hills up next to Mount Rushmore. The original like thing from Trump about this included a bunch of names of people who would be included in said sculpture park, and it's a weird list. Like it's got like Whitney Houston.
Good. It's time she got her due.
Yeah. And like, but like she's one of the very few more like modern people. Like Kobe Bryant is on there.
Okay.
And then like a bunch of like random Supreme Court justices like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But I guess that like given her direct hand in like
I mean
the
Trump
rise
owes her
yeah, he owes
quite
her
a bit.
big time.
Yeah. Wants to give that lady a high five.
Yeah, yeah.
So on that list, RPG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Whitney Houston,
Amelia Earhart. Who else was on it? Okay, I'm gonna sound really dumb, but like Albert Einstein was on the list.
I mean, he defected.
I guess, but like, I guess.
But only Americans are allowed to be in the Garden of American Heroes.
I kind of feel like, yeah. Like,
but didn't he become American?
I guess.
Man,
he died
really
in Princeton, New Jersey.
Schools.
So, yeah. Okay.
Wait, so if you're born here, you're not an American anymore, but if you die here, like Albert Einstein did, you are American.
I guess I didn't really know he had like totally defected and like lived here for the rest of his life. So
no, he just told the Germans he wasn't gonna.
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna be a part of this thing anymore. I'm still gonna stay here in my house, but just leave me alone, okay? That's how defecting works.
Yeah. And then one notable person I wanted to point out is getting a sculpture is Daniel Boone, who is my great times something grandfather.
Okay.
That guy
sounds
sucked.
like we're probably another point where you can be proud of that again.
I'm not proud of it at all. That guy was a shithead. I'm pretty sure he owned slaves, so that's really not good. Yeah. I don't understand when people are like, why can't I be proud of my history? I'm like, I don't know. A guy seems like a piece of shit to me.
So I can't help but look at this rendering. It's the sculpture garden or a sculpture garden or like part of this project or the proposal to have it in South Dakota.
Yeah, somebody's like kind of jockeying for it to go to South Dakota.
This rendering looks straight up Soviet.
It does.
It looks like, when I first saw it, I was like, is that like from the USSR?
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of sculptures and like paths around it. And it really looks like this, you know, the illustrations and state documentaries that would come out of the Soviet Union to show how great they were doing.
Yeah. They're like, everything is great right now. I think I see Sacagawea in the background. I think that's her carrying a baby on her back. Yeah.
Well, you see all of the Challenge America grants that a lot of them were helping out, you know, Native American small community organizations. It's fine because Sacagawea is in that sculpture garden.
Yeah, absolutely. No idea who the guy facing away from us in the very background is. He kind of looks like a frog if a frog were a person. This is just such a sad, ugly little garden. Like there aren't enough trees. I don't know. It just looks so sad and like barren. Like,
well, I'm sure when one day we have this actual garden, if we're still here, if we haven't been deported for this podcast or for any other reason, we can go visit this sculpture garden and tell you who that guy is.
Or report live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I think the funding for like a per sculpture for like the bids is like $200K per sculpture. And like one artist can go up to like, can propose like up to 3 sculptures. So do you think there's like kind of a dodgeball kind of thing going on of like, okay, I really want Amelia Earhart. I really want Sacagawea.
Picking your teams.
Yeah. And like,
do a draft.
But like nobody wants to do, oh yeah, we got to find the list.
I mean, if I had to do a sculpture, I would want to do Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I got some thoughts
Nobody wants to do Ronald Reagan.
That is, no one's going to be happy with how that turns out.
Yeah. Or, who's that piece of shit? Antonin Scalia.
Oh God, is he getting one?
He was on the list. Yeah. And like nobody is picking Antonin Scalia.
They've really got to, I mean, all the artists in America, all the sculptors are really going to be looking up and practicing how to really get the wrinkles right on shitty old white guys.
Really exacerbating them. Kind of like that one.
That's the whole garden. It's gonna be a whole garden full of wrinkles. And then Sacagawea and Amelia Earhart are also there.
Yeah. Who else do they want to put in there? They wanted to put in...
Give me the list. Let's hear it.
Ansel Adams, John Adams. Hey, an artist. Not John Adams.
Notable
I know
artist John
he's
Adams,
not.
yeah.
Samuel Adams, he makes good beer. Muhammad Ali, Luis Walter Alvarez, Susan B. Anthony, Hannah Arendt.
Oh, wait, hold on. I think she also, Arendt also defected.
See, all these people got to defect and like nobody's letting us defect.
Hint, hint.
Hi. Other countries, just...
Hey, Germany, you know how you lost a lot of smart people?
A lot of funny people.
Yeah, a lot of funny people.
You might want to think about that. Mm-hmm. Oh, Steve Jobs is on the list.
All right. Clarence Thomas on the list?
He better not be. I've got a statue I'm going to pee on.
I mean, if you've got living people on this, calling it, they're going to sell like the Trump admin on on Truth Social or some shit, the same way they're selling all the hats and merch.
Yeah, they're going to sell an NFT of it or something.
They're also going to sell like, get a sculpture. You got to be in the sculpture garden.
Oh, yeah, totally. Ronald Reagan's on the list, which like, shouldn't like every president be on here if like one president is on here, except like maybe that one guy who died in office.
There's clearly a lot of, I don't know, surprising names on that list. Like how do you reduce the number of American heroes to just 250? But it's probably because it fits a 250 semi-quincentennial. Oh my God, did I do it this time?
I think you got it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Of the United States of America.
Yeah. I want to back up a little bit though and talk about why I hate this. And it is the idea that individuals are responsible for American progress. Like, it does not talk about like, you know, like projects like this just reinforce the idea that like there are some special individuals in this world who can make a difference, like remarkable people, and that like it's just so highly individualistic. And
what could be more American though? I mean, that's like that's why the CIA funded the Iowa Writers Workshop, because people were writing from the individual perspective.
Yeah.
Like instead of the, collective Soviet one.
Yeah, exactly. And like that all kind of just like circles back to like this promotion of this fascist art that like, even though we see a like mixed list, it's like, okay, I'm kind of surprised that like Trump would produce a list of people that includes women, that includes people of color, Native
Gotta
Americans,
throw him a bone.
disabled people, but like the point isn't who makes it. The point is that they are all these disparate individuals. And it sounds crazy, I think, but like it is designed to make you think you can't do anything. Like it is designed to atomize every aspect of American political life and progress. And that like if you think you're not exceptional, then you don't ever have a shot of being in this sculpture garden. Even though people like Martin Luther King were like entirely backed by huge movements of people who committed like their lives and their resources to this cause. But like, they try to, every time there are like causes like this, they try to center individuals to target and attack and demoralize. Like, the FBI like hated MLK and loved targeting him. And it made a lot of sense for them to say, like, this guy is like the leader. Cause then, like, when they shot him, yeah,
Yeah.
that was really demoralizing for everyone who came to believe like he was like the central leader.
Right. I mean, there's a lot to get into there, but
Yeah.
again, like this, that has been a part of
Yeah.
the American project for a very long
Yeah.
time. It
This
is that
hyper individualization.
if we're all
yeah.
working as individuals to do something,
Yeah.
there is no people power. There's no collective. I mean, tell me if there are any union leaders in there. Is Cesar Chavez in that list?
I was just about to say, I didn't see Cesar Chavez's
He's
name.
fine. He's got enough streets in every major city.
I didn't see anybody who like died at Blair Mountain or in the Haymarket like protests in there. So, and I think like it's this storybook version of America that I can't
it's the mythology
stand.
like we were talking about earlier.
It's all about mythologizing. And I'm sure like, there are great people, but great people are formed by great societies and are like propped up by great communities. And that's the thing that's always like missing in this kind of expression, this like fascist expression, is like the idea that anything other than like individuals matter. And it's meant to demoralize.
Well, yeah, you and your vote are all that matters. And as long as you have your own opinions and do your own research,
Yep.
that's all you can do.
It doesn't matter what the consensus is. It doesn't matter what like larger communities that are like steadied in these things think. Like it is you and your opinion.
And wherever you got that opinion from on Facebook.
Yeah. The other individual that gave you that idea, the influencer,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you're living in a sculpture garden of American heroes, 250, there's one for every year and not one more and not one less that America's been around.
Right, yeah, 250. And it's like, no, like there are people, there's so much more than that.
You're right. We should look forward to the sister sculpture garden of everyone who was at the J6 riots.
Yeah. Every single one of them going to get a little sculpture of themselves. Yeah. Little bobblehead.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
It's frightening. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for Cold Crit. We will be following up with a deeper dive on our next episode. You'll be able to hear the preview on our regular feed, but if you want to hear the whole thing, get signed up for our Patreon for free. You can get started completely for free. All the links that we have right now up through our various social medias and websites, those should link you to a place where you can claim your where you can get started for free. We just want you over there. It's a nice platform.
Yeah, and
we can post pictures, we can post links in like ways that like we can post our like slides in ways that Spotify doesn't let us do, or like YouTube.
And our deep dives, we haven't recorded that one yet.
No.
But
we're gonna.
The kind of things it could be about are, when might look at some of the art that has engaged with the themes of the Declaration of Independence, for example. I mean, we touched on some of this in this episode, but
we might live tweet watching National Treasure.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get ourselves to watch it again.
No, I can't.
But
it's so boring.
My point is, those episodes are, to dig a bit deeper than, what we can get into in the 1 to 2 hours that we usually do at the start of the month.
Yeah. Then otherwise, hit us up on social. Follow us on Instagram at Cold Crit Pod.
And you can subscribe on Spotify or YouTube for access to videos of all of our shows where you can see images of the artwork we're talking about. Or you can find audio versions on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Our theme music is by Layers and Layers, and you can find us online at coldcrit.art.
See you next time.
Bye.